Hello everyone, Alex here with a new little video, and it may be just my personal impression, but I had the feeling that a lot of people recently changed sequencers, and I also noticed that a lot of people switched to Cubase, and yeah, I thought to make it a little bit more simple to change or getting used to the functions in Cubase, I thought I'd do a little video about it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do after you created your file, go to File, New Project, and you may want to go prompt for project location, because otherwise Cubase would always use a default location, which would be inside documents and blah, blah, blah. But I think it's better to have your own project location, probably on a session drive you want to record your sessions on, and it's always better to not have it on the system drive, but you already know that. Okay, so the first thing you see is the project window here, the edit arrange window, and you also got the mixing window here. Just drag it over here. You may notice this is Cubase 7 with a new mixer, and yeah, it took a while to get used to it, but the changes from Cubase 6.5 to 7 is inside the mixer is really worth it, definitely. Okay, so just let's focus on the arrange window, and just let's set up or let's just go through the process of setting up virtual instruments to get, to start composing right away. Okay, so the first thing, of course, you want to do is go to Devices, Device Setup, and make sure your sound card is set up, and your latency. You also want to make sure, go to Devices and VST connections, that your inputs are set right and the outputs, so in order to hear audio. And I mean, usually if you attach a MIDI keyboard, it should be recognized by Cubase on its own. Sorry. Okay, so there are several methods to get it started, but I think the most the best solution, at least to me, was to go with a rack solution. So if you go to Devices and you open the VST instruments rack, so you get this little rack here with 64 slots. I think you will hardly ever fill those, but after Cubase scanned your plugins, so you also have to make sure the path is set right. So I just can show you this here in the plugin information. So you got all the stuff set up, VST plugins, so you can set VST2 plugin paths and all this other stuff. But the most important thing is probably to set the VST2 plugin path and just choose the folders from plugins you used before. Okay, you probably know that already, but you want to go sure that, just in case you used Logic before and you're changing to Cubase, Cubase does only read VST plugins and not audio units. Okay, that's for that. Okay, back to the VST instruments rack. If you click here, you open all the VSTs you have. So for now, let's just use, it's one nice feature of Cubase 7, by the way, you can just type up there, and if I write something like cont, you already see all the contact instances I have installed. Okay, so I'm opening this contact instance here, and there we go. And as you can see here, it already created a MIDI track for me. So just in case it's Cubase not doing this for you, you hit over to the File menu and go to Preferences, and there is this little box here, VST, and also plugins, and you see this line here, Create MIDI Track when loading VSTi is set to always. So you can handle this as you want, but I think it's okay. I mean, if you're testing sounds and you open like 50 plugins, you have to make sure that with this function activated, you have like 50 MIDI tracks over here. So it's probably not a good idea. But just in case you know what you're doing and you're going to compose a track and you don't have a template or you don't want to use templates, it's probably a good solution. So, okay, let's close this. And let's just load a patch. Let's just use something from Adagio Cellos and the Instinct Legato patch. So you should already, after loaded, you should already hear something. Okay, so I assume you're already familiar to Contact 5 or whatever Contact version. And the interesting thing is now how this is set up. So this is your MIDI track, and you see all MIDI inputs, just in case you have other controllers controlling, you know, CC7 or CC11 or whatever, mod wheel and so on. And this is the output. So you have Contact 5 MIDI in, and this is going to channel number 1. When I open Contact again, you can see this here's output, MIDI channel 1, and our stereo output is 1, which is mono 1, 2. So stereo 2 would be mono 3, 4. Okay, so yeah, this for that. And if I head over to the mixer, this is as I mentioned before in Cubase 7 is a totally redesigned mixer, and it's okay. So the as I mentioned before, the layout you have to get used to. At least I had to, but the features are really cool. So the really cool thing is you got this visibility thing here, so you can just, in case you see my setup, so you don't get bothered by this. I needed to so you can hear my voice. I can just hide it, you know. So everything is gone now. So you see the MIDI input and the VST output. This is the one the signal comes in. So this is just the MIDI trigger. And usually I don't do anything with controlling on the MIDI tracks itself in the mixer. You know, I'm not controlling volume or anything. I'm doing this in the arrangement window, in case I'm using something else than CC7, sorry. Otherwise, I'm controlling the volume here with the output. So a good thing to do, maybe channel types and just hide the MIDI channels, so you just can focus on the output. Okay, for now, let's call this AD for Adagio Cellos. So this is my cello output now. And this is the routing, just real quick. So it comes from this, you know, as you can already, I mean, as I explained before, this is the VST output, and it's going to stereo out. So it's going straight into the main output. And you may notice this little limiter here. I just set this up for, sorry, I just had to check the recording. Am I recording? Yes. Oh, luckily I am. Okay. So anyway, I put up this little limiter here, so you don't want to hear any pop or clicks or distorted sounds. Okay. So the next thing here is, it's going to stereo out, the main stereo out. You got this little insert box, the Q box, the channel strip with all set up things like gate, compression, EQ position, saturation. What was this again? Like some envelope shaper and stuff. We don't need it for now. And the saturation thing and all this stuff. So it's pretty cool to have all this stuff, limiter, to have all this stuff here going. Okay, so back to the instruments. So how to proceed? You just don't want to make music with just one instrument. You want to load more. So you could open another instance of Contact 5, or you could stay inside this instance, a lot of people just fill the complete instance. You know, you got 16 MIDI channels, so everybody is filling like the whole thing up. I tend to stay with one library per instance, so it's just an overview thing. Okay, so if I just load Adagio cellos, I make sure to put all the articulations inside this contact instance. And if I want to, for example, load Symphonia 1 strings or brass, I'm using an instance for, let's say, the strings or the brass. For now, we just stay with this within this instance, and I'm going to load a Cinebrass Pro patch here, the True Legato 12 horns. Sounds really cool, by the way. And as you can see over here, it does not create a MIDI track for the second instrument you load. It just created this MIDI track for the first one. So what do we do now? Is hitting right click and we add a MIDI track, just one, add track. So you got another one below. Now you have to check back. The first one is set to contact 5 MIDI in, and we do the same. Actually, in this case, it's already assigned to the same contact instance, and MIDI channel 2. So if I play, I should hear the horns. Okay, and let's just rename this. Your cello. I have to name this for the articulation I'm using. So this would be Cinebrass 12 horns Legato. Okay, so when you check back with the mixer, you see now that it's just one output. Okay, so you see that the strings and the horns are going to be routed to the same output. To change this, you already may know this. Go to Contact and pick another output. Now the problem is, when I play it, you don't hear it. And this is a point you can get really desperate with, because you're checking all kinds of things and, library patches and your keyboard. But it's just something pretty simple. You have to go to that little label here and open it, and you see now that there's just one stereo output activated. So you may want to activate the second stereo channel. And if you go back to the mixer, you got the second stereo channel set up here. So let's rename this to Cinebrass horns. And here we go. Sorry. Demonstration effect. Okay, here we go. So you see, make this. So you see the horns going to be routed to this one, to this stereo channel, and stereo output, and the cellos to this. Okay, so that's basically it for the setup. You can, proceed and do the setup however you want. You can fill it with strings and create another instance. Let's just do one more. So, and let's load, let's say, some Albion patch. Let's load the Woodwinds High Legato. Okay, so what you see now is it created this one. It's highlighted automatically, but you see that the output is second instance and MIDI track 1. Yeah, of course, because we created a new instance, so it's set up to this. Now you can see 2 instances, which is logic, of course. I mean, it's Cubase, but okay. So if I play that back, okay, let's check the mixer. You can see that you have the first stereo out from the second instance. So we can rename that to Albion Woodwinds High. So you see that this stereo out from the second contact instance is routed to the stereo out also. So for your convenience, I think what you would, let's rename this too here. What you want to do now is create buses or group tracks. I mean, I'm not the guy working with sends and returns. I'm mostly working with insert effects on buses, which is about, you know, more or less the same. I mean, it's a philosophy thing. I mean, you can work with send and return, and you can use the same reverb for different tracks, or you can set up individual reverbs, which is my favorite thing to do, because I think I just want to not treat the woods as I treat the strings, you know, with like just doing the same reverb and just making it more dry and not more wet. Sorry, but that's a personal thing. So, but what you want to do is to have a little bit of an order, is to set up a group track. So you hit right click and you go to add group channel track. Let's just set up 3, because we want to do 1 for strings, 1 for brass, and 1 for woodwinds. Okay, so it automatically creates the group tracks folder. If you minimize this, all the group tracks disappear. Okay, so what do you do now is you go over to the mixer, and let's just rename this, the first one, group 2. It's named group 2 because I already set up a group track, which you can't see now for my vocals, so to set up the effects and stuff. Okay, so let's do this group. Rename this to strings, this one to brass, this one to woods. Okay, now we are going to route the cello's output, not to the stereo out, but to the strings. The cinebrass horns output to the brass bus or a group track, and the Albion woodwinds channel, the output to the woods. Okay, so now you see when I'm playing the cello patch again, you see that it's been routed from the cellos to the strings group, and then to the master output. Okay, so let's check this one. All routed perfectly from the horns output to the brass group track, and for the woodwinds. Okay, this is set up correctly too. So I think you're getting the idea. You can, you know, experiment and try out all the routings you want to. So you can assign, you can load several patches here and assign them to the same or different outputs. You can fill one contact instance so you don't waste you know, 16 or 10 channels. I mean, if I'm loading cinematic strings for my setup, it's just 5 instruments in general. So you got like 11 channels MIDI. I mean, you know, like slots, contact slots left. So it's kind of a waste, but not. I mean, today's computers should easily manage this. As far as I know, each contact instance needs like 25 megabytes or so. So it's not really waste if you have like 10 more or less. Okay, that's it for this setup. I think this should be clear. You can now, what we're gonna do now is create another group channel track and name it orchestra. It's just another personal thing, because I like to have the main the orchestra instruments routed to a specific orchestra bus, because I want to keep the stereo out free from any effects besides a little limiter or compressor while I'm in arranging mode. By the way, why am I doing this? Okay, because just as mentioned, I want to keep the effects on this, the orchestra effects on this orchestra bus. So let's route this to this one. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but usually you can pick those and just go holding the shift key and click orchestra, and it should be all routed to the same. So I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, or if Steinberg changed something, but I think I just did something wrong. Why, there's one anyway. So let's route this to orchestra. Okay, it says when I play now, you see that all patches going to the orchestra bus or group track. So as mentioned before, I like to do that because I can now set up, let's just use the Valhalla reverb and let's quickly load this Albert Hall. So I just like to set up, a general room reverb. So I should close the instance here. So you can see all instruments go to the group tracks and all group tracks go to the orchestra. So just in case you're now setting up a rock drum or, guitars, you still have the option to route it to new group tracks or directly to the stereo out. So you don't have the main hall or reverb or whatever effects you're putting on this stereo track. It doesn't affect your rock drums or your vocals or whatever. Okay, so this is for the setup. I think this should be clear. And let's just quickly head over to the MIDI editor. So I'm just recording something. It's pretty easy. You just have to, push this little record button and start your recording. I mean, the usual behavior is mostly like with every other sequencer. In Cubase case, you have 1 and 2 on your numpad for the marker, for the left one and the right one. And you could also set it up by dragging here, or you could use the string or the Alt key. Let's set up the 2 bars. So it snaps to the bars directly. So this happens when I left click with the string key held down. And you can, if you switch to the Alt key and you hit with left mouse button, you can change the right locator. Okay, so hit enter, have my click. So just let us show the transport bar. You can see that the click is on. You can deactivate it and activate it again by hitting just C, the key C. Okay. So let's just, just play something random. Yeah, it sounds like Christmas, which is okay, considering that it is December. Okay, so we do a double click here, and you see the MIDI editor, and you just see velocity, but I also used my mod wheel. So I assigned this to the shortcut E, but you can go, sorry, let's close this. You can go to this little paper piece or whatever and just say show used controllers. So you see your mod wheel information and you can see your velocity information. The cool thing about Cubase is that you can have as many controller lanes as you want. So you can have like 5 or 6 just in case you're using some more complicated to control instruments. For instance, like using the VSL instruments. I mean, that's pretty cool features, but it takes a bit more than just like 2 controllers mostly. Or the trumpet, I can think of the sample modeling trumpet, which uses a lot of controllers. So it's pretty cool. I've seen sequencers, they just have 1 lane or 2 lanes maximum. So you always have to switch back and forth. So this is pretty cool to have all, assigned below the MIDI information. One thing which is also very interesting, that if you choose all the notes, either here, or you could, I think, also yeah, use them here. So I showed this before in another tutorial, but it's pretty cool. So you can fade in the velocity, fade in, fade it out. And you can also change the values in relation to each other. So you see this is not just going like this. You can do this too. It's fading towards 0 while the other one stays up. It moves in relation to each other, which is pretty cool and pretty helpful. You can do the same for the mod wheel information. Just fade it in, fade it out. Stuff like this. So I don't really need to explain that, so you already can see what's going on here. And I think this is really cool because you can really dig down deep into MIDI controlling, editing and stuff, which I think is necessary to make VSTs come alive. Okay, so the other things should be familiar to you, like the snap thing here, up here. Oh, just undo this. And the legato command is usually set to L. So if you type this, you hit L, you automatically get the legato connection. Okay, so and you can, I put overlaps. You can have overlaps. This can be found here in functions and delete overlaps poly. So you see it deleted. Let me just go back and forth again. So you can see it deleted those overlaps. So I know a few sequencers which cannot do this. I mean, or they can do that with just doing, some workarounds. But I think when it comes to MIDI, I think Cubase is pretty much advanced, doing all this stuff. Also, what you may want to know is if you set the grid to, let's say, 4th notes, and you want to, or 8 notes, just, doing with Q, you can do the quantization, however you want to do it, just for the sake of demonstrating it. And you can hit, there's a little randomize thing on the quantize menu here, and you can put like whatever 10, or let's just, to see it easier, the video, let's use 20 and just hit quantize. And if I hit Q again, it randomly quantizes the notes with a value of 20, moving it around. Okay, so that's basically it when you want to get started with, I know we have the full audio section still, but let's just focus for now on the setting up of VST instruments, and let's care about the audio later. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and if you have any questions, feel free to shoot, and see you next time. Bye.